my function in the foundation 20th of July 1944. Okay?
Thank you.
And what is your name?
My name is Pablo.
Pablo. Okay, very good. Okay.
It's okay.
You can start.
Good evening. My name is Pablo. I am a Spanish student and I'm learning English. So could you speak slowly, please?
Yes.
I would like to you ask some question about your life. Okay. So what's your name?
My name?
Yeah.
My name is AXELSMEND.
Your surname sounds Jewish.
Pardon me?
Your surname sounds Jewish. Do you have a Jewish background?
Swedish?
Jewish.
Oh, I see. No, it's not a Jewish name.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
It is a German name.
Okay. So where and when were you born?
Pardon me?
Where and when were you born?
I was born on the 9th of May 1944 in Lüneburg, which is rather close to Hamburg.
During the dictatorship, where did you live?
Pardon me?
During the dictatorship, where do you live?
Well,
Where?
the dictatorship was formally finished in 1945. This was the date of the end of the war, World War II, and I was born in 1944. And I lived with my mother in Lüneburg, the city where I was born.
How was your life then? Then the dictatorship.
At the year of 1 year.
Now, how was your life when the
In the
dictatorship?
post-war period.
Post-war period.
In the pre-war,
Post-war.
in the post-war period, after the war.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I have two elder brothers and sisters, and we lived in a small city called Lüneburg. Since my father was handled as a betrayer, our life was quite different from the life of other people. Because in those years, the man who had tried to kill Adolf Hitler were treated as betrayers. That means as criminals. And most of the families were treated in a very negative and bad way. So my mother, she had to take care of 3 children. She was rather young. She was about 28 or 29. But of course, since our father was a betrayer, a traitor, we had no money at all. So there was no pension or no rent, since our father was a betrayer. So the life of my mother was, I'm very sure about that, was very, very hard. Of course, there were many children without any father, so life of many children in Germany, but the same as in other countries, was very hard. However, it is more or less the death of my father. He was executed by hanging. This was more the trouble for our family. It was not the money, it was not this kind, but it was just the way that from one day to another our father was treated as a betrayer. This was the main problem after the war. And it has changed in Germany, at least in the early 60s. So it took a long time till the people checked and saw that these people were no betrayers, but that they did this execution of Hitler, this try of execution for the benefit of the country, for the benefit of Germany. But it took years and years. Today it's no more problem.
So, are you affected today because of this experience?
Are you what?
Affected today?
Well, of course, I'm still affected because it affected my whole life. It affected my whole life, of course. Yeah, it has touched me right from the beginning when I heard by my mother what has happened. Of course, it has not affected my life at the year of 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, but later on, when I began to reflect about the life of my father, then of course I became more and more affected.
How old were you when your father died?
I was 4 months old.
Wow.
So very small.
What did you think about the dictatorship during that time?
Well, of course it was an awful thing, but I couldn't speak because I was just 4 years old. But anyhow, it was a terrible thing.
Yeah. So, did you see or hear any propaganda after the dictatorship?
Of course, there was propaganda after World War II. There were political parties which were linking and sticking to the ideas of Hitler, not only after the war, but also in the years which followed. Even today, there are some people, all in Europe, not only in Germany, but all in Europe, where you can meet people who still like the ideas of Adolf Hitler, which is terrible, but of course it is a very, very, very small minority, but it's still existing.
How have your ideas about Hitler's dictatorship changed?
Please, again.
How have your ideas
How, what is the next word?
about Hitler's dictatorship changed?
He did not change his ideas. What do you mean by that?
How
Hitler did not change his ideas.
your ideas about the dictatorship changed?
The political ideas. Have you changed your political ideas now with respect to your ideas in that period?
I don't really understand your question.
Since you have been affected
Yes.
by the Nazi period,
Yeah.
do you think that your ideas have changed?
Well, they have not changed fundamentally. No, they have not changed fundamentally. I grew up as you grew up in Spain, and fortunately after World War II we had a democracy, so I was educated in a democratic state, and which is very good, by the way. I think so. So I had no reason to change my political attitude. Of course, when going to the elections, I changed sometimes the parties, But anyhow, these are always democratic parties, so there is no reason to change. It's a difficult question. I mean, not for me, but to really to understand.
Could you describe an important moment when you were a teenager?
When I was what?
Could you describe an important moment when you were a teenager?
A teenager? What do you mean by that?
In connection with the post-period, the dictatorship.
Well, of course, I told you that I was rather affected by the period of time and by that was what happened to our father. And I was affected to all the stories around. So life sometimes was not very easy for our family. And I remember quite well one experience. I was a teenager, I was about 11 or 12 years old, when my mother went to the teacher to ask about my efforts, which were always very bad, unfortunately. So I was a bad guy concerning the efforts at school, mathematics, physics, all that. Never did I have good results, unfortunately. So my mother went to the teacher to ask the professor or the teacher for my efforts. And then they were talking about my father, and at the end of this discussion between the teacher and my mother, the teacher said, "Well, Mrs. Smend, it's no big surprise for me to see your son such bad in the results and the efforts as a son of a betrayer." So this is a story which I remember quite well. My mother came home, and I never did see her crying, but it was the first time in my life that I saw my mother crying. And you can imagine how affected not only my mother was, but how affected I myself was by that experience. This is one experience which I remember quite well.
Okay, thank you. What were you doing the day the war fell? What were you doing the day the wall fell?
The wall fell. The wall.
The wall.
The wall.
Border.
The Moors.
Yeah.
The Berlin Wall.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I was not at Berlin. I was somewhere else, but of course I took my car and went to Berlin when hearing all that, together with our children. We have 4 children, and so it was clear to come to Berlin.
Okay. What are the differences between your life nowadays and your life during the post-period of the dictatorship?
I think I already mentioned that we have the wonderful situation that we live in a democratic state, so I can do what I like. We have the liberty to talk to whom we like. We have the liberty to say what we think. All this is not done, or you cannot do that in a state where a dictator is like Franco or like Hitler. So we are in a very, very good situation, I think. And even today there are some countries where you have a dictator. If you think of North Korea,
Yeah.
but of course there are still other states.
Have you read The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas?
The what?
Have you read The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas?
Stripped.
Stripped.
pajamas or any other kind of books
What's-
related to the Nazi period? Have you
What's
read?
the name?
Do you know the book at
The
school?
Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
I
It's the
don't
title
know.
of the bundle.
Maybe in German, but
Have you read it?
I don't know. I just can't tell you because I don't
Okay.
understand the title.
Yes, I
It's,
know.
it's not
Maybe
that
you have it
important.
in German.
Quite possible. In English, it's The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. It's a reference to the uniforms that the prisoners of...
It's by whom? Who is the author?
You don't have the name of the author.
Who is the author?
He doesn't know, so it's okay.
It's
It's,
okay.
it's a very
I think
popular...
I have read it, but I should like to know the author. If we mean the same book, I think I have read it, but in German, not in English.
So have you read any book in relation with the dictatorship?
Yes, of course.
How do
Many-
you
many
think,
books.
How do you think that book is related to your experience? And how do you think the book you read is related to your experience after?
Well, it depends on the kind of books you are reading. There are books on the dictatorships which are very personal. I am very much affected by these books, and I think on the whole they are true. And there are many, many books on Hitler himself, on the Second World War, on all that. And on the whole there are very good books, but of course there are also books which I wouldn't read again. But for example, the book by Hoffmann about Stauffenberg, or the book by Ian Kershaw, he just has written a book called The End, one of the best books you have on the Second World War, second, and on the dictatorships. So I think I have read 50 or 60 books on that.
How was the school in the post period of the dictatorship? How was the school?
The school,
School,
my school,
general school, yeah. How was it?
Your studies.
well, I went to
Was
school.
different to when was the dictatorship?
Of course it was different because, as I said, we had a democratic state, and the teachers had not only to tell about Hitler and how good Hitler is and about the benefits of the dictatorships. He could tell the truth, and the truth is and was that dictatorship is a very, very bad thing. So this is probably the main difference between school during the dictatorship time and during the post-war time.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I was a very bad student without any good efforts and results, I liked going to school. I did a lot of sports, and this was the only subject where I really had good results.
Okay, so that's all. Thank you very much for your time with us.
Can you add any experience that you want to add? Anything else?
Pardon me?
Do you want to add anything else?
Well, of course, I would like to know about you, because no one informed me about the interview here. I just didn't know what
We are Spanish.
what that is. Yeah.
We are Spanish
This is
students
what-
and teachers,
Yeah.
and we are.
You are a teacher.
No, I am a teacher.
Oh, you are the teacher. Oh, I see.
And I'm trying to have a survey
Yeah.
about young people
Yes.
in the Nazi period, in the post-war
Oh, I
period,
see. Yeah.
or in the GDR period, and related all these survey
Yeah.
to the period in Spain, to the period that the young
Okay.
people lived in
Yeah.
Spain
Yeah.
in the dictatorship of Franco.
Yeah. Ah, yeah. Oh, I see. A very interesting subject.
We are going to have an exhibition here in Berlin. I don't know
where.
where.
When is that?
In May.
In May.
Next
and
May.
It will be where it's the old, I want to say it's the old Stasi headquarters.
Hohenschönhausen.
Not the prison, but
Gaukbehörde?
it's in Mitte.
In Mitte, probably it's the Gaukbehörde, where all the files are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we are going to have an exposition there in Ubrique, in the town.
Oh yeah. Do you
We
know
are from-
the Gedenkstätte Deutscher Widerstand? Memorial memorial place of the resistance?
I think we haven't seen it. Today we have seen the memorial to the Jewish
Yes.
and
very
the
good.
memorial to Rome
Yes.
next to the Brandenburg.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's the memorials we have seen. We hope to visit more places.
So I really would recommend, but I'm sure that you will go there, this memorial of the German resistance, because there you have also a room where you will find Franco
Huh?
and the resistance against Franco.
Yeah.
And we are doing, and we are just developing a kind of conference about the resistance in Europe.
In Europe in general.
So this is France, this is Spain, this is Britain, this is America, so not only Europe as well, America, and of course Germany. So this should be of interest for you. It's at the end of May next year.
Okay.
And you live in, where do you live, in Madrid?
In Ubrique, it's a small town in Cádiz, in the south of Spain.
Oh, I see. Very good.
Have you been there? Have you
Well,
been in the south
I
of
have
Spain?
been sometimes in Spain, but unfortunately not in your lovely city. Yeah.
It's very small.
Yeah. And you are from one school?
Yes.
Yes, in high school.
Oh, I see.
One high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah, very good. And there's a kind of cooperation with this John F. Kennedy
Yes.
School.
It
Oh,
is.
yeah.
It is.
And you are 5? Or are
No,
there still
we are 18 students and 2 teachers.
Oh yeah, I think it's very difficult to pay attention at your students in Berlin. They are out.
Yeah.
Well, she doesn't say anything.
No, I don't want to say anything. I don't.
And where do you live here?
They live with parents, with American parents.
Oh, with
American,
families.
excuse me.
Oh, I see.
With buddies.
And do you live in a hotel, or where do you live?
No, we live
In Kreuzberg.
in
Kreuzberg. Ah, yeah,
In
fine.
Gneisenau.
Very good place,
Straße.
Kreuzberg.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
No
very
one
good.
has a tie in Kreuzberg.
No. No.
Uh,
It's true. It's true.
So I'm going downtown now. Can I take someone with me?
Oh,
I'm here by car.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're very kind, but it's not necessary.
It's not necessary.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Then we have finished.
Very good.
So thank you. Thank you very much.
Goodbye. Very good. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.
Thank you.
Vielen Dank.
Wiedersehen.